Hello class. Today we're going to get some more practice with those angles that we did in the last video. So I have my alternate interior, alternate exterior corresponding and same side interior angles that I need to remember and kind of digest. So we're going to practice those as well as vertical angles. And I'm going to throw in a couple linear pairs here. I'm not seeing any. So question number 1 asks us about a transversal. What is the transversal for lines M and N? So basically, what line cuts through both M and N? And that would be line B. Using my proper notation for B with the line with the 2 arrows over it. So I have question number 2 is asking me to identify all pairs of vertical angles. So looking at my diagram, I have vertical angles at angle 1 and angle 4. Angle 1 and angle 4. I also have vertical angles at 2 and 3. Now, I would encourage you to pause this video right now and try to find the other 2 sets of vertical angles on your own. So the other 2 are going to be angle 5 and angle 8, and then angle 6 and angle 7. So in the previous video, I went over one example of each of these in the diagram that I had, but there are 4 sets of vertical angles that appear when I have 2 lines and a transversal. Now I want to identify all pairs of corresponding angles. Corresponding angles are going to be on the same side of the transversal in the same location. So let's go ahead and look at angle 1 here. If I pick out angle 1, I want to identify an angle that is on the same side of the transversal. So my options are either 2, 5, or 6. Those are all on the same side of the transversal. But I also want it to be in the same spot as my angle 1. So that is actually going to be over here. Now, I'm being a little bit more careful as we're moving through these videos of my notation. If I have marked this one as one arc and this one is one arc, I'm saying that those are going to be congruent, and I don't know that that's true. It doesn't look like they are. So angle 1 and angle 5 are going to be my first pair of corresponding angles. Angle 1 and angle 5. If I start with angle 2, then its corresponding angle is going to be 6. 2 is on the top right of its group. 6 is in the top right spot in its group. So angle 2 and angle 6. I encourage you to go ahead and pause the video and try to come up with the other 2 pairs on your own. So looking at angle 3, its corresponding angle is angle 7. And angle 4 has a corresponding angle of angle 8. So question 4 wants me to identify all pairs of alternate interior angles. So let's go ahead and use our eraser here. Let's get rid of these marks so that I can have a clean slate since I'm working off of a different definition. So alternate interior angles, I want to be inside these two lines. So that's going to be 2, 4, 5, or 7. Any of these. I want to be inside, interior. So 2, 4, 5, or 7. And I want to be on alternating sides of my transversal. So my options, or my answers, are 2 and 7, angle 2 and 7. Now I encourage you to pause the video and see if you can come up with the answer for the one additional alternate interior angle set. And that is going to be angle 4 and angle 5. So again, let's go ahead and erase up here so that we can start with a clean slate. Now I'm going to identify all of my same side interior angles. So I want same side of the transversal inside my two lines. So here I have an angle 2 and angle 5 are going to be inside those two parallel lines and on the same side of the transversal. So one of those sets is going to be angle 2 and angle 5. I encourage you to pause the video, see if you can find the other set. The other set will be 4 Question number 6, alternate exterior angles this time. I want to be, instead of inside my two lines here, I want to be outside. So my answers should be a combination of 1, 3, 6, and 8 this time because I want to be outside of those two lines. And then I want to be on alternating sides. So outside, exterior, outside, and alternating sides of the transversal. So my answers here are going to be angle 1 and angle 8. And then angle 3 and angle 6. So they want to know here in question number 7, why is angle 4 not congruent to angle 5? So why is angle 4 not congruent to angle 5? Well, they could be, angle 4 and angle 5 could be congruent if I knew that M and N were parallel, but I don't. So I would say that 4 is not congruent to 5 because, where's my text box? Because we don't know that, what is it? M and N are parallel. We don't know that M and N are parallel. So I'm going to go ahead and add my notation here. So in order for angle 4 and angle 5 to be congruent, I would have to have parallel lines. That is the alternate interior angle theorem, which states that I have to have parallel lines in order for them to be congruent. So identify the two lines that make angle 16. So angle 16 is right here. The two lines that make it up are going to be here and here. So I have line N and line A. So line A and line N. Identify the two lines that make up angle 4. Well, that would be here at M and here at B. So M, line M, and line B. Identify alternate interior angles with angle 4. So let me go ahead and start the clean picture. So I'm going to erase all my previous markings. And now I want to identify alternate interior with angle 4. So let me give myself a object to cover up. So I'm going to go ahead and cover up this part so I can focus on the top for just a second. I don't want to cover anything with angle 4 in it, so I don't want to cover up this group, but I'm just blocking what's down here for a second so I can focus my eyes. So angle 4 and angle 5 are going, excuse me, grab my pen again. Angle 4 and angle 5 are on alternating sides of this transversal, but inside their two lines. So here, angle 5 would be the alternate, in one of the alternate interior angles that matches 5. So let's go ahead and remove this cover up. Maybe. And now I want to add a different one. So I don't want to cover up anything that, I don't want to cover up my angle 4 because that's what I'm trying to figure out where its partners are. So I'm going to cover up this way. I never want to cover up angle M, line M or line B entirely because those are what make up that angle 4. So then now with some of my image gone, it's a little bit easier for my eyes to focus again on saying that angle 4 and angle 9 are alternate interior angles. So I can add angle 9 to my list here, and that's it. I can't go from, get rid of this. I cannot jump across from this top left group to the bottom group. I have to have a transversal running through any of these angles that I'm listing, and there is no transversal that gets me from this group up here with 4 in it to any of these 13, 14, 15, or 16. So I am done with 5 and 9. So question number 11. All right, let's erase my previous markings. Question number 11 asked me about alternate exterior angles with 16. So I'm going to mark that one. And I want alternate exterior this time. So if you want, you can cover up one line at a time, anything that does not include 16. So I can cover up this part over here. And now it's just a little bit easier to focus. Alternate exterior angle, one of them would be right here. And then I can cover up the other line up here. Again, I don't want to cover up anything with 16 because that's my main angle that I'm looking at here. Alternate exterior angles would be also number 9. So 9 and 16 are alternate exterior angles. Once you get a little bit more practice with this, you wouldn't necessarily need to keep covering these angles up every single time. But I feel like it's really nice, especially when you're first starting out, to kind of have that extra visual help. So my answers here would be angle 5 and angle 9. I'm going to go ahead and have you pause the video, answer questions 12 and 13 on your own, and I will come back and show you the solution. So here we get, for number 12, the same side interior angles with 4 would be 7 and 10. And for corresponding angles with 16, that would be 8 and 12. So question number 14 asks me to find the measure of each numbered angle and support my answer. So that's where I'm going to be using my theorems and postulates to justify what I'm saying. So here I have 3 angles that I am trying to find. They tell me that line A and line B are parallel. So these two are going to be parallel, and if I do have a line C and D, those are going to be parallel as well. So I have lots of parallel lines to work with. Let's go ahead and get started. I have these 2 angles right here. Let me mark right here and right here are going to be a linear pair. That's going to make them supplementary. So I have to add up to 180 degrees. 130 plus what gives me 180? Well, that would be 50. Now, here's the trick that I use for these. I try to find my pattern and see where all of my 130 degree angles are and all of my 50 degree angles. Once I figure out where one is, then I should be able to kind of jump around and see all of my 130 degree angles are going to be in this diagonal. So bottom left and top right for both top group and the bottom group. And we will justify why this is true in a second here. And I can, depending on which angles that I have, assign all of these as these other angles as 50. I know for this question, it's not necessarily particularly asking me for all of them, but a lot of times it helps if I can just have that extra visual. All of my 130 degree angles are going to be in one diagonal direction, and all of my 50 degree angles are going to be in the other. So let's actually get rid of some of these that I don't need. They didn't ask me about this angle, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. They never asked me for this bottom, this 130. Oh, I can't get rid of that until I get rid of that one. I'm just going to get rid of the ones that I don't need, so there's not so much clutter. So here I said that the measure of angle 1 is equal to 50. So that's a little bit different notation than what we're used to. If I'm wanting to say an angle is equal to something, I have to actually use the little m to say that the measure of that angle is equal. So the measure of angle 1 is equal to 50. And that is because angle 1 and the given, so my given number here and my angle 1 are congruent. I can say that is by the alternate, or no, sorry, the linear pair theorem. Then I want to look at angle 3 and angle 2. So let's do angle 3 first. So the measure of angle 3 is equal to 130. And I know that because angle 3 and the given are congruent by the alternate exterior angle theorem. And I just abbreviate theorem THM. We're going to be using it a lot, so it's helpful to get some working abbreviations because this can be a lot to write. So my next one is the measure of angle 2. And that is going to be equal to 130. And I know that because angle 2, and this time I can use angle 3. So angle 2 and angle 3 are congruent by the vertical angle theorem. Let me go ahead and make this a little bit smaller so that it all fits without running into my next problem. Okay. So basically what I've done here is I've stated my answer. I have verified which angles I was using and which theorem applies to those two angles. So angle 1 in the given, angle 1 and my given are going to be a linear pair. I can use those to say, oh, I said that these were congruent. Those are not congruent. I meant complementary. These two add to 180. These are not the same number. Sorry about that. So the measure of angle 1 is 50 because the angle 1 and the given are supplementary by the linear pair theorem. I'm stating my answer. Which two angles am I using? Which theorem am I using? What is my answer? What two angles am I using? What theorem am I using? So I keep that up over and over again until I have fully justified each one of my problems. So question number 15, I'll do it in a different text color. Oh. So I want to do one of these angles first, and then I'm going to fill in the rest of my angles. So I'm going to actually do one of these, or this direction first, the same side interior angles, because that will give me both my 56 and what my other angle is. So 180 degrees minus 56 is going to give me 124. So then I know that this angle is 124. These two add to 180. And then these two should be congruent because they are alternate interior angles. So let's go ahead and write our justification. So I can say that the measure of angle 1 is equal to 56 because, so that's my answer, and then which two angles am I using? So angle 1 and the given are congruent by the alternate interior angle theorem. And then I want to say the measure of angle 2 equal to 124 because angle 2 and the given are supplementary by the same side interior angle theorem. So that's what my answer is, what two angles am I using, and which theorem am I applying. So I'm going to go ahead and finish these. I want you to pause your video, try these on your own, and then I will show you the answer. So looking at the answers for these equations, or for these questions, I have angle 1 and angle 2 and angle 3 are all 82. This first set are going to be corresponding angles. So I said angle 1 and the given are corresponding angles. Angle 1 and 2 are going to be corresponding angles as well. So I don't necessarily always have to use my given in one of the two angles. So I used 1 and 2 are going to be corresponding angles, so they're 82, and angle 3 is a vertical angle from angle 2, so 2 and 3 are congruent because vertical angles are congruent. Now, a couple of things. I could have also said that angle 3 is 82 because of alternate exterior angles using angle 1 and angle 3. That's why I want which two angles are you using and which theorem are you using, because depending on which two angles you pick, so I could have explained angle 3 using 1 and 3 and alternate interior angle theorem instead of the way that I did here. So because there are different options, each student could have their own path. I want to know which two angles are you using and which theorem are you using them with those two angles. And then I also made another little change here that instead of saying vertical angle theorem, I said vertical angles are congruent, which vertical angles are congruent is me stating the entire theorem instead of just summarizing it by the title. It's okay. Sometimes it's just easier to remember, was that a theorem? Was that a definition? Was that a postulate? If you can remember that vertical angles are congruent and just want to say that, that's fine too. You don't have to do it one way or the other. You have options there. So question 17 was asking us to find the angle measure. That was our directions up here, find the measure of each angle. And I did a couple of things. So I know that these two angles that are marked are alternate exterior angles. Oop, I put interior here. Alternate exterior angles. I know that they are, so I know that they're going to be congruent, therefore their measures are going to be equal. So I set x plus 32 equal to 3x plus 4, and then I solved my equation. Once I solved, I got 18 as my answer. I put that back in because, again, they were wanting the angle measure. They weren't asking me to solve for x up here. They were asking me to solve or to find the actual angle measure. Now, for my explanation, I didn't like that they didn't number these, so I just put my own numbers in so I could write my explanation a lot easier. So it's okay for you to do that on your paper too. So I called this top one angle 1 and the bottom one angle 2. And now I know that angle 1 and angle 2 are both 50 through substitution here. And I used the alternate exterior angle theorem to start that whole process. The alternate exterior angle theorem allowed me to set those two things equal. Then I substituted, and now I'm back to my explanation. So for number 18, instead of setting these two things equal, because they're not, this one, even just looking at this angle here compared to this angle down here, this one is going to be smaller than the top one. I can just see that visually. So I want to look at angle 1. Again, I didn't like that they weren't numbered, so I just put my own numbers there. Angle 1 plus angle 2 are going to be 180 degrees. So these two added together are going to be 180 degrees. So I get the 3x from angle 1, and I get the x plus 20 from angle 2. And those two things added together give me 180 degrees because they're supplementary. So again, setting up my equation, solving my equation, and substituting, I get that the measure of angle 1 is 120 degrees and the measure of angle 2 is 60 degrees. And that is by using that same side interior angle theorem that says that these need to be supplementary. So the last thing that I'm going to go over today is these questions 19 and 20. Now, I gave you on your definition and theorem sheet let me try to find them, some parallel line theorems. And that's what we're going to be using to tell how does A relate to C. So how does line A relate to line C? I don't know where my arrows went. They disappeared when I uploaded this to Google. So here, parallel theorem 1 says in a plane, if two lines are parallel to the same line, then they have to be parallel to each other. In a plane, if two lines are perpendicular to the same line, then they have to be parallel to each other. And if a line is perpendicular to one of two parallel lines, it has to be perpendicular to the other. So we're going to go ahead and see if we can make sense of what those just said. Now, my suggestion, almost a demand, is that you actually draw these to get an idea of this relationship, because it's just, man, are these hard if you don't. So I'm going to go ahead and draw line A perpendicular to line B. So I'm going to draw line A and draw a line B, and I want them to be perpendicular. And I apologize that all my notation disappeared. There should have been arrows on the top of all of those to say that they're actual lines. But I'm going to mark this one as line A, and this one is line B, and those are perpendicular. Now I want to draw another line C that is also perpendicular to line B. So it has to intersect line B. So this line C and line B are going to be perpendicular. Well, now if they're asking me to relate A to C, I can see a lot more easily here in the picture than up here in the notation that these two just have to be parallel. Okay, if those are my options, my theorems here are only giving me parallel and perpendicular lines, then these definitely aren't going to be perpendicular. A and C would be parallel. So I'm going to say that line A is parallel to C. And I do want to make sure that I add in my proper notation. So I'm going to draw my arrow, my line with 2 arrows on the top. So question number 20 says A and B are perpendicular again. So I'm going to draw A perpendicular. Ugh, let me try that A again. That was not a very good A. A is perpendicular to B. And these sketches are just to help me get to my answer, so I don't necessarily have to be too perfect with these. And then I have B and C are parallel, so I'm drawing those in the same direction. So now that I am going to label my A and B as perpendicular, and B and C are parallel, so I'm going to use my 2 little arrows here and 2 little arrows here to indicate that those are heading off in the same direction. Now I know that A and C are going to be perpendicular. So let me see if I can get a notation symbol for perpendicular. And again, I want to label these with my line symbols above the letters to indicate that those are lines. All right, that was a lot of questions, and we are almost at 40 minutes for this video, so I'm going to go ahead and stop there. If you have any questions or you need something explained, just let me know, and I hope you have a good evening.